Partners in Ministry, a presentation of Josiah White's Quakerdale Foundation, dedicated to growing ministry support networks, introducing people to a cause that connects with their heart, bringing hope and encouragement to our communities as we seek together to serve as Christ served.
Welcome to Partners in Ministry. My name is Dan Smith, and today I'll be talking with Ryan Keller. Ryan is the Executive Director of the Hope4Healing Resource Assistance Network. In this interview, we're going to discuss the relationship between the Hope4Healing Network and the local church. Welcome, Ryan, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the Hope4Healing's mission or purpose statement says that it's here to connect people with the resources that it needs to live life at its fullest. Today, I'd like to explore how this tool can help the local church meet the needs of people. So first of all, how can the network help the local church support its members in serving their personal, professional, and social networks?
Well, there's quite a number of ways that can take place, but I would point to the way things have changed, the way church has changed since the pandemic, and how many, if not all, churches closed for a while, had online services, and many are struggling to now have members come back because of whether ongoing concerns about COVID or different things. It's changed. So it depends on where your members are at in that kind of cycle or in that situation. But essentially, we all know that there are times when members in the church will suffer, whether due to an illness or an unexpected financial hardship or whatever that may be. And although the church is there to certainly surround them with prayer and encouragement, not all the time can the church do much to help with that practical need that's there. And so Hope4Healing, just as we would for anybody else, can do some additional research on behalf of that member and allow the church to really surround that member with care, not just with the important things of prayer and love and encouragement as brothers and sisters in Christ, but also by being able to serve some of those hard, solid needs, like a financial need or transportation or whatever that need may end up being.
Sure. Okay. So what it does is it really helps the church kind of let another partner come in and take care of the logistical needs that are being presented to help a member, while it works on the emotional friendship side of the relationship. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. And the cool thing is that, for Hope4Healing, it's not like we want to get recognition in that. That's our desire, is to help churches. And so we can silently be in the background doing that looking at research to help, while the church ministers in various ways to the individual or the family.
Okay. So that really helps me understand then how the local church is helping its members with the needs that they have. It sounds to me then like there's kind of a similar way that it can be used for me as a member to try to help in the relationship building and the needs of the people that I know that may or may not be a part of the church, right?
Correct. So whether you're part of a small group, leader of a small group, or a deacon or pastor, whatever your role may be within the church, even if you're just a concerned brother or sister in Christ, you can reach out to Hope4Healing, and we will do the research for you, share that back with you, and that's how you can choose to minister. And even in your professional life as a member of a church, if you want to serve in your professional role with clients or individuals that you interact with, you can certainly continue to reach out to us, and we can help with those individuals as well, and help you to establish a little bit stronger presence in your field by the way that you kind of serve others. And whether you use that in a ministry role or not, it's still there for us to help.
Sure. So one of the unique things that I'm hearing you saying is that a lot of the needs meeting communities, organizations, what happens is that if I'm talking to somebody that I know that's in, a personal friend or something like that, and I become aware of a need that they have, usually what happens, there's kind of a passing off of that person to another, to that agency. It sounds to me like what this is allowing me to do is have that relationship connected, because you're going to deliver what the possible solutions to that need are for my friend to me, and then allow me to present that um, to my friend or my neighbor or my coworker. Is that right?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. So it keeps the idea is that the church is supporting the member, the network is supporting the member, and the member is developing and building relationships at work, at home, at play, and in their neighborhood. Is that a good way to say
Correct.
it? Okay. Wow.
Exactly.
Cool. So if all that's happening on the personal side with the church's member, from an organizational standpoint, how does the network help the church then connect to the needs of the community?
Well, in various ways. I will go back real quick to that individual part. It has a role that impacts the church too within the community. And what that is that as you find out about the resources that we share with you within your community, it builds a relationship there as well. And that relationship goes between you and your church. How cool for a business owner, let's say, to hear that you're reaching out to them because you've got a friend who has a need, and you were told about their services, their business, and you wanted to find out more so that you could help your friend through a difficult time. That makes a definite impact, does it not? The story is always best. But beyond that, it also helps the church with local missions because, as we've talked before, Dan, the church can also choose to work with individuals in their community that have needs, that um, are working with Hope for Healing. But our requirement as we work with them is that they identify a local church to provide that emotional friendship and spiritual support that they need while we do the research. And just in the same way, when we find the resources, we share them with the church the person is chosen, and then the church shares it with that individual or family to strengthen the relationship. So, again, all in all, it is relationship building from the church to their community, whether on a say church to business or agency level, or on an individual to individual level. But it's a way to minister to the needs in your community, large or small.
Sure. So it sounds like there's really kind of two things are going on for the local church in terms of being able to know what's happening in the community as far as needs are concerned. The first one is the obvious one, where people actually come to the church, knock on the door, give a phone call, and say, "Hey, help! I have a need." Now
Right.
that is getting less and less, simply because people just aren't really connected with the church and don't really see the church that way per se. But it sounds to me like the second arm of this is that the church is connected indirectly to the needs of the community because of its members going out and making themselves available to help. Then
Yes.
the church is coming behind the scenes then, and helping sort of kind of the back door. Um, and I would think that that would be much more conducive to reaching a broader range of the community, because you don't have to explain about the church and whatever. That relationship's already there. You're working with an existing relationship.
Correct. And one maybe a third caveat to that is that what we're seeing is more and more people are reaching out directly to Hope for Healing because they've gotten a card of ours or somebody else has shared the information, but they don't have a church. And so we get to help in the first steps of establishing that relationship with the local church.
Well, then that leads me to ask the question then, how does the network help connect local churches with the resources in their community?
So quite uh, quite simply, when we do the research and find those resources, then we share them with the church, and that's how the church becomes more aware of them. There are literally thousands of resources in every county across the state of Iowa, and many of them are unknown because we just don't know how to put in the right keyword or to do the right things to search for them. And that's where Hope for Healing fills that need. We can do the research. We have that information that we can share. And then we connect the church partner with the resource agency. So that could be a business, that could be an actual agency for, like, say, mental health, or like a community action center, like the Northeast Iowa Area Agency on Aging, or something along those lines that we could connect people with. But then on top of that, we do the work of contacting the agency or business or organization first, and we find out who do they need to talk to, what type of paperwork they would need. We simplify that process as much as we can for the church and for the individual that needs the help, so that, again, it's about relationship building, but it's also about effectiveness. We want this to be less time consuming and easier for everybody involved. So the church naturally finds out about those organizations because of how our process works. But beyond that, it allows the church to start to realize too that there are so many organizations, businesses, um, agencies, whatever the term we want to use, it's out there, that have godly people in them. And they're looking for a way to serve through their profession. And so we're building relationships on a one-on-one level there too, with godly individuals in business, in professions, that want to see churches be able to serve the needs of the local community.
Sure. So once again, it sounds like there's some organic awareness of resources that are going to happen just by being in the community. But it sounds like what the Hope for Healing Network brings is a capacity that's far exceeds what a local church could do on its own, because of all the stuff you already know about in serving other needs that are there. So as you serve needs around this church, now you're going to become more and more aware of the need of the resources that are available through that church. So, for instance, there may be a single mom who needs help with their car that really doesn't have a budget for it. That church may not know that Joe down the road at Church C can do this for them, but you know it because they've connected Church C with this guy before. And he said, "Well, let me check on Joe and see if he's available." Joe, who? I didn't know that he did that. So it's just kind of this finger reaching out kind of thing that's happening because of your presence in the network, as well as the time and the capacity to learn about it and store it.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
So you must be starting to get a rather large database if you've been around since what, 2014, I want to think.
I would say it's a fairly large database, but in many respects, it's kind of just scratching the surface too. It grows daily, which is an exciting thing to see, those connections. Um, you know, what business or agency doesn't want people to come through their doors?
Sure.
That's the whole purpose of being in existence. So when we talk about community and building that community, it really has a wonderful, inclusive feel to it, where this circle of caring for one individual now has a whole number of different fingerprints on it. And it's just a wonderful way to see us be able to care for those that we care about.
Sure. Sure. You kind of hinted at it earlier. The culture that churches live in now, as well as church culture itself, has changed a lot because of the pandemic. And I think some of us are still scratching their head trying to figure out, so what does this look like going forward? What are some ways that the Hope for Healing Resource Network could help a local church in the process of growing membership for its body?
There again, it takes an assessment. And so that's something that I enjoy doing personally, sitting down with churches and having this conversation. Um, Quite recently, I did pulpit supply for a church that recently lost its pastor. And um, they came to me afterwards and were talking about how they weren't quite sure they were going to be able to keep the doors open. And we're looking for ways that they might be able to, um, get more people to come in. This was all, of course, post-pandemic, and their numbers did not come back to the way it was prior to the initial shutdown from COVID-19. So we just started to brainstorm some things, but again, it's a community by community and sometimes a neighborhood by neighborhood venture. What one church needs to reach its community is quite different sometimes than what other churches might need. So one way that we've started this, we did a pilot this past summer with a church in Waterloo where we did Vacation Bible School. And Hope for Healing came in and did the whole Vacation Bible School. The church provided some volunteers to help with everything. It was a wonderful time. And if you want to check that out, you can go to Hope for Healing's Facebook page and you can see pictures of the kids with horses and different things. But this community was right next door to a bunch of apartments and with a bunch of children in it. But the church is has a membership that is probably in that 60 plus range. And there's quite a gap between a 60 plus congregation and reaching elementary age children. It's not that there wasn't a desire or anything to do that. And they have a heart and a passion for that. So, how could we connect with them with that? We worked with them to develop a curricula and to have vacation Bible school. Now, this year it was just one day. But after what took place in that one day, next year they're talking about doing a 3-day model. We're able to make that conducive to what works: 1 day, 3 day, 5 day, to whatever the church is needing in that. But there's other things. If it's a neighborhood that has a lot of need, there might be opportunities to look at how they could reach the community through maybe a community meal once a week or different things. Can we help them find a pastor? We did that for a church in a small central Iowa community, and they greatly appreciated that. There's just so many things that can be unique in the situation. But what we commit to is sitting down with you and your leadership, whatever that may be, to determine what it is you're needing, what it is you're wanting to do, and then identifying strategies to how we can help, whether that's personally by us showing up and doing something like Vacation Bible School or Pulpit Supply, or by doing something at a more macro level where we're identifying resources to help them put together whatever that item is. We traditionally do in Waterloo as well. We do a Christmas meal. It's a free will donation meal, and at that church, the pastor and their spouse and their son all are wonderful violinists. Actually, the husband in that situation is a very talented music teacher, violinist. And so we do Christmas carols while they play violin. And sometimes we have a piano accompaniment, sometimes not. It really can be tailored to what is needed. But the idea is to connect with people in a way that's God honoring, that will help people want to come and to learn more. And ultimately, that's how we can uniquely fill that gap as well.
Sure. So it sounds to me that one of the advantages of the resource network is the fact that it's not just made for urban or rural, large or small, that it has the ability to work in all different settings with all different kinds of churches in all different kinds of ways. And that because you're already in the conversation with other churches that are working through the same thing that the church that's come to you that's asked for assistance, you can begin to connect them with other solutions, other things that are happening, or brainstorming and trying to create a new one and see how it goes.
Exactly. And, the other key there is, and it's part of what I do when I talk about pulpit supply, is each church is uniquely blessed with the skill level of the people in the church. We all are given gifts or skills that we can use, but they're not all the same. And so to come up with a cookie cutter approach is going to fail to implement the skills that God has given to the members that are in that individual church and what they're capable of.
Sure. Yeah, I know typically having pastored a rural church, it doesn't take very long before you realize that you're just not out of resources. They're just not they're not around. So having something like Hope for Healing all of a sudden exponentially grows the potential resources for you because of the connections that you have. And I can see how that could be just a real blessing to all kinds of churches.
I think there's a component that is somewhat overlooked in that regards too, and that is you talked about it doesn't happen as much anymore, but churches will at times get a lot of phone calls for financial needs. And, I've talked to many pastors. They know that people will go down the phone book, or there's no such thing as a phone book anywhere, but off of Google, and they'll start calling every church in their town, and they make the same request, the same plea. It doesn't matter if Church A already answered the need; they still go to B and C, and so Hope for Healing also helps to in that community outreach to ensure that there aren't people taking advantage of programs, and that real relationships are getting built, not just short-term fixes to long-term problems.
Sure. That's great. Well, Ryan, I just really want to thank you for joining me today. It sounds like the Hope for Healing Network is really a wonderful tool for the local church.
I believe so. We'd love to work with your church.
That's great. So if you've got any questions, or if you'd like to learn more about the Hope for Healing Resource Assistance Network, you can see Ryan's contact information here on the screen. It's also available in the show notes for this episode on our website, or you can find it in the description of this YouTube video. So once again, Ryan, thank you. And thank you for joining me today. Until next time, let's get out there and serve as Christ serves.
This has been a presentation of Partners in Ministry, a podcast of Josiah White's Quakerdale Foundation. To learn more and see the show notes for this and other episodes, visit our website. To stay informed of up and coming broadcasts, subscribe to our e-newsletter. To invest in our mission, donate today.